Seva as sadhana and Seva starting to feel when we're not clear like a hindrance to it. Of course it does. Anything I have to do, my mind is going to rebel against it. Here's the thing about us as human beings. We tend to be very lazy by nature. If we didn't have doctors telling us that we should eat certain foods, exercise a certain amount of time, most people would really be much happier sitting around and eating French fries and pizza than, broccoli and Brussels sprouts. But we do it because we know this is what's good for my body. Most people would rather sit around and watch TV than exercise, but we do it because we know it's good for my body. Because someone has told us this is what you need to do. But most of the nature actually tends to be lazy, both physically as well as mentally. We do things because there's something we want from it. I want to be healthy. I don't want to be sick. I want to live long. I want to look good. Therefore, I eat right. I take care of myself. I exercise. Okay. But the nature is lazy. And so I decide I'm going to dedicate myself to service, to Seva, as a spiritual path. Wonderful. I embark on the path. And now I have things to do. Whether it's toilets to clean, whether it's dishes to wash, whether it's carrots to chop, whether it's a website to design, whether it's data to enter, whether it's envelopes to stuff, whatever it may be. And it's someone else telling me, usually, to do them. Whether it's actually a person telling me or whether it's an inner voice that knows that you've been somewhere long enough, you know what needs to do. Either way, it's not the voice of my lazy self. It's either actually a person saying, get this done, or an inner voice saying, I know I should get this done. And we rebel. I don't want to. We become like kids. The ego never outgrows itself. And so it's like the child saying, basically, make me. I don't want to. I don't want to. It's like a kid. Why don't you want to? Just for this, just I don't want to. No. The terrible twos are when kids learn, no. Do you want to go to sleep? No. Do you want to stay awake? No. It's just about saying no. Do you want to have dinner? No. Do you want to go to sleep hungry? No. It's just the power of no. It's the you can't make me. And so what happens is, here I am, I give myself up in service, in Seva, as that vehicle. But the ego is still there. And suddenly here I am, I would much rather be lying in bed on Facebook or reading a book or chatting with friends or doing any one of 100 other things. But I've got to do my Seva. Again, either because someone has told me, whether it's a place where you punch a time clock or you've got a supervisor who's watching, or just because of an internal moral sense of responsibility. Got to do it. And then there's that rebellion. And so what ends up happening, though, because we're not children, especially on a spiritual path, is I start creating excuses. This is just a distraction. I shouldn't have to do this. This is this. This is this. Whatever it may be, I'm going to come up with all kinds of excuses to enable myself to not have to do it. And by the way, laziness is only one reason. There's many, many other faces of the ego that pull us out of our spiritual practice. Whether it's pull us away from meditating, pull us away from doing our Seva, whatever aspect of our practice that may be, The ego's ready with some reason why today is not a good day to meditate. Why today is not a good day to do Seva. Why you've got something that is much more important, or why the meditation is useless, or the Seva is silly, or whatever it may be. This is why for thousands of years, long before we had Facebook, long before we had things to distract ourselves, nonetheless, the scriptures were cautioning us against the workings of the ego. Thousands of years ago, the scriptures are telling us how to work with the mind. It's going to play games. It's not going to say to you, yeah, let's meditate. Yeah, let's do Seva. And this is where we have to literally work with it, mold it, shape it, train it. So this is not just a today's issue. This is an issue of the nature of the mind. And this is why sadhana is literally spiritual discipline. It's spiritual practice, spiritual discipline. Because it's not what comes naturally to us. And then, of course, you bring in the ego with all of its games. And of course, it's going to try to pull us away any way that it can. But this is where we pray. When we pray for buddhi, we pray for the intellect to really be able to see through those workings of the mind that are pulling us off track. This is where when we pray, asatoma satgamaya, lead us from untruth to truth. Tamasoma jyotirgamaya, from darkness to light. When we pray for this, it's because we are, with these minds, with these physical bodies, with these karmic packages and these incarnations, yeah, there's darkness. We need to move toward light. Darkness within our own selves, that ignorance. There's falsehood. We need to move toward truth. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Lead us from death to immortality. Not, oh God, make this body not die. But lead me from stopping to identify with this body, with the fluctuations of the mind. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm satisfied, I'm dissatisfied. To the identification with the soul, the spirit, essence, truth, that knows all that matters is waking up. And wherever I am, right here, right now, I better do it. And if in my mind I'm saying something wrong with this present moment, I'm keeping myself away. And all the games it's going to play, if I just allow myself like a ball in the pinball machine, you know, you pull back the pinball machine and the ball goes all over the place. And we allow ourselves to be like that in our minds. From here, you know, it goes and it bings, and here and a light, and here another bing, here it spins around, here something. And we just allow ourselves to be like that ball. Something pulls the spring, pulls that lever, and off we are. Sometimes it's something from outside that sets us off. Sometimes it's something internally that sets us off. And then I'm off going. Bing here, bing there. No end, no end, no end. And so this is where it's so important to realize it's just about being that clear vessel. And when the mind starts to play its games, don't fight it off. Just go back to the practice. Go back to the practice. Go back to the truth.